Well, hey everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. As you can see, I have a guest with me, and you've met Caleb before. He's been with me a couple times. Say hey, Caleb.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? That's right. Hey, we are going to be talking again. We're going to continue our story about the woman that we've come to know as Ruth. If you remember, in our first lesson, we talked about the tragedy that against Naomi and her family. Her husband Elimelech died, her two sons died, and she was left basically in the land that she didn't grow up in called Moab, and with two daughter-in-laws, one named Orpah, one named Ruth. And Naomi, we talked about how she went through this whole pity party thing, that she felt so bad that she thought everything was coming down against her, that she tried to get her daughter-in-laws to just stay in Moab while she went back home to her homeland. And Ruth decided that she was not going to stay. Where Orpah, she obeyed Naomi's request. She stayed in Moab, but Ruth stayed loyal to Naomi, and she went back to the homeland. And then we talked about, hey, Naomi and Ruth needed to get some food, and they hadn't been eating anything. And so Ruth is told by Naomi to go glean fields. And if you remember that, that's a hard, tedious job, going behind the guys who harvest the grain and just picking up the little seeds and buds and everything and putting it in baskets and getting enough food basically to feed just her family, her and Ruth and Naomi. When Boaz comes upon and he sees Ruth working hard. This is hard, intensive work, and he sees Ruth working, and it really struck Boaz in a way that he points out to her and asks his workers, who is that woman out in the field? And they say, well, it's Naomi's daughter-in-law, and so Ruth is called over by Boaz. Boaz sits there and says, listen, don't worry about ever going to anybody else's fields to glean. You can just come here and do it, no problem. Well, this week, we're going to talk about a word that really strikes to the heart, I think, of how we should be when it comes to our faith. And in the story, we see Naomi come up with she's starting to get out of this pity party phase, and she comes up with an idea to have Ruth kind of get together with Boaz. You see, back then, they didn't have like security cameras, and they didn't have alarms and things like that. So what a lot of farmers did back then is when grain was harvested, the farmer or rancher or whatever it was would sleep in the area they kept the grain. Like, can you imagine today that a farmer would actually sleep in a silo type building where all the grain was kept? And they did this because they didn't want, maybe creatures to come in and eat the grain, or somebody to actually come in and steal the grain from them. So Boaz would sleep with the grain. Naomi, knowing that the farmers did this, comes up with a plan for Ruth. And the word I want you to remember for this week is boldness. Boldness is that thing where we go out and do things that we don't normally do. Naomi comes up with a plan for Ruth. Here's what she wants Ruth to do. She wants her to put on her prettiest dress. Basically, a wedding dress. Go to where Boaz is sleeping and lay down at his feet. So Ruth says okay and decides to do that. That's a bold step, right? Imagine, he is laying in this area where his grain is to keep away thieves. He's sleeping, right? So if anybody comes sneaking in, have you ever been woken up in the middle of the night? It's like this, right? You know somebody's coming in, and you just jump up. You don't realize what's going on. Boaz could have reacted like that, right? So Ruth comes in, and she lays down at Boaz's feet. Boaz wakes up and they have a great conversation, and Ruth kind of does something even bolder for the times. Ruth lays it out that, listen, you are our Redeemer. You are our person that we can come to that actually holds the property to Naomi's land if you do something. Marry me. She basically is proposing to Boaz. Can you imagine in the time when women didn't do, like they couldn't vote, they didn't do things like that. And she is coming out and being bold and saying, listen, if you marry me, you get all of Elimelech's former land, which is bold beyond craziness here. So Boaz sits there and he's excited about it. He likes Ruth. He's obviously seen something he really enjoyed about her, and he sits there and says that he would marry her, but there is something holding him back. And next week we'll talk more about that. But I want to talk about something about my friend Caleb here, and something when I first started here. I did not introduce myself to Caleb to begin with. Caleb did something super bold. He didn't know who I was. I was introduced as the family ministry pastor, and my friend Caleb here came up and he introduced himself to me. He came up and says, hey, I'm Caleb and I want to be part of your youth group. Didn't you, Caleb?
Yeah.
And we've become really good friends. Are we good friends?
Yes.
Are you? Hey, and one thing that I love about Caleb is he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's not afraid to tell me what he thinks and things like. He's bold with me. He tells me, what he's thinking and things like that. But another thing he does that I love about Caleb, it's truly bold about him. He's not afraid to tell me how much he loves me. I feel I'm bold. I tell Caleb all the time how much I love him. And guys, it's bold when you do that. Hey, if we're not trying to do something different every day, and that's being bold, when you're willing to go outside of your comfort zone, when you're willing to do something that you don't normally do, that is being bold. Do you remember the first time you ever got on your bicycle and you took the training wheels off? Now, you may have had somebody running behind you, but at some point that person had to let go and you had to ride your normally four-wheeled bicycle on two wheels. That is a bold step. But guys, most of you that watch me are now riding two-wheel bikes. And you wouldn't even think about going back to a bicycle with training wheels, would you? You took the bold step to move forward. And that's what boldness does. When we are bold and we go out and we try something different, like Caleb coming to me and saying, hey, my name is Caleb, and I hear you're the new family ministry pastor, and I want to be part of the youth. Caleb did a bold step. And now he is actually part of my youth group. He hangs with me all the time. And I think this is like our third time we've done videos, right? Isn't it? About our third time? Hey, and I love doing it. We'll do more even down the road, I'm sure. Hey, stay tuned for next time. We're going to find out why Boaz was hesitant to just say, I will marry you, Ruth. And it's kind of a funny and interesting story of how it lays out. Come back next time. Verse is coming up. Hey, me and Caleb, I think we're going to eat pizza here after a bit. So we're going to talk to you guys later. Hey, have a good week. See you next time. Bye. Say bye, Caleb.
Bye.
The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Psalm 121:8.